He's the brewmaster.
The secret is, there is no secret. Yeast, hops, barley, and water. Just gotta make the magic happen.
Hello everybody, here we are at Earth and Fire Brewing Company, and we are getting ready to brew an amber ale with my friend Nolan. You're gonna go behind the scenes with us, see what it's all about. Come on, let's go. We are going to take you on a brew experience. Okay, so it's converting the starches into sugars. This is kind of like, when I smell this happening in the air, it reminds me of porridge.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm standing here in front of the, what is this called again?
Hot liquor tank.
Hot liquor tank and the mash tank with Nolan. And we're getting ready to brew in,
What's that?
what are we brewing?
Brewing our amber ale.
And we're filling the mash tank right now and getting ready to put our ingredients in. What are we putting in there?
We're gonna put in our grains. So we've got some two-row barley, some chocolate malt, and then some crystal malt.
And this is where his magic happens, right inside of here. And then from there, how long does it actually take inside of here?
We'll mash for about an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Okay, what's actually happening inside of this mash tank?
So inside the mash tun, we're going to convert all the starches that are in the grain into sugars. So there's enzymes in the grain that when it gets to a certain temperature, they'll actually convert the starch into sugars.
From here, then you take it, and what happens?
So then once we're done mashing, we're going to take and rinse all those sugars off and move them to the boil kettle where we can boil it to sanitize it.
Okay.
And that's where we'll add our hops as well.
How many times do you boil in there?
Just one time.
Just one time. How long does that process take?
It's an hour-long boil, but it takes a little bit to get heated up, and then about half hour afterwards to cool in. So it's a couple hours over there.
And what kind of hops are we using?
Today we're going to use Simcoe and Willamette.
You have to check pH balances. What is the temperature now? And why do you have to check your pH?
Temperature should be about 148. We check the pH because the enzymes only convert more efficiently at a certain pH range. So we want to make sure it's in that range, and then we'll correct it if it's needed.
Okay. Is there any risk of this getting contamination?
Nope, because we're still going to boil it. That's why we boil it.
Okay.
And once we boil it, we are more careful about contaminating it.
Little mad scientist.
Maybe. Hopefully not too bad. 7-9-ish, looks like.
So what do you do to get it down?
We're going to add some food-grade phosphoric acid.
Okay. What is that?
It's just an acid, so it'll drop the pH to where we want it.
Okay. That's like what happens in the body, basically. When you have a high pH, you bring acid into it to lower the pH?
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to add some cold water, though, so it's a little bit high.
Okay. Adding a little cold water. Is the risk of contamination mostly? Is it in fermentation or boiling?
It's in fermentation. Boiling will kill everything, so once it's cooled off is when it's a problem.
And that's pretty much when you start adding yeast, right?
Yeah, yes. That'll be after we cool it into the fermenter and add the yeast in the fermenter.
Okay. All right. Sounds like we got a beer starting. So each time you put the grain in there, you start stirring. Why?
So that doesn't create dough balls?
Dough balls?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
To make sure it all gets hydrated. And then...
Can I stir while you're putting?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. And which one is this that you're putting in now?
So it's a little bit of everything. It's mostly two-row, and then some crystal, some chocolate, and some Carapils malt. So right now we're going to boil off, which is we're going to take all the water or the wort from under the grain bed and there's little pieces of grain in there. We're gonna pump it back over the top of our grain bed so that we get nice clean wort coming out the bottom and we don't bring over any of the grain pieces to our boil kettle.
Oh. Wort.
See how there's little chunks of grain in there?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get that a lot more clear.
Interesting. So you want that to be clear?
Yep, because this is what's gonna go in our boil kettle.
Okay, I see. And then this leaves this all just grain.
Yeah.
So in amber ale, why is it so dark and rich in color?
That comes from the caramel malt and the chocolate malt we put in there.
Okay. What's the alcohol volume on something like this?
This one is, I think about 5.5.
Oh, pretty low, huh?
Yeah.
The grain's coming out, which was really nice. So now that's pretty much clear. There may be still some grain in there, but very little. Yeah, so that's what we've seen. Interesting, guys. I just went back to the barrel room with Nolan, and the mash tank is completely clear. You can see the spent grain. The wort is coming out much clearer. It is smelling so amazing. You wouldn't believe it back there. It's becoming beer. Now we're going to get to see the fermentation happening. It's all coming together. You're going to get to see it all coming soon. Stay with us. Now, where are we in the process here, and what are you doing?
So we just turned the flame off. We're at flame out, and we're now going to start whirlpooling, and we're going to add our whirlpool hops. So you can see down here, I've got the pump on. It's starting to spin, and we're going to add our whirlpool hop add in.
Wow, look at that. It started to bubble up here, you guys. It's like the pool is spinning and everything is bubbling to the top. It is really cool what's happening right now.
So we're whirlpooling to get all of the solids that are in the bottom. There's a lot of protein in here, all the hops we've added. We're going to get it to the center of the kettle so that when we pull off the beer to cool in, it's clean beer and doesn't have any solids left in it.
That's awesome. So why do you add hops 2 times? What's the process in that?
So the first hop add we did earlier was for the bitterness in the beer.
Okay.
The later adds add flavor and aroma.
Oh.
So there are alpha and beta acids in the hops that once it gets above 180-ish, they isomerize and they give the beer the bitter component. So that's where the bitterness in beer comes from. So if you didn't have any hops in a beer, it would be sweet and gross.
Yeah.
So even lighter beers or not hoppy beers have some hops, enough to balance that malty sweetness.
So, for instance, the crisscross, the Belgian wit stout, has to have hops to balance the flavor.
We're going to do 1 hop out at the very beginning on that one just to balance the bitterness so that it doesn't taste like a lollipop.
Lollipop. We don't want lollipops, guys. All right, so there we have it, hops. That's the essential business.
This is when it could get infected if it was below 180 degrees, but it's still 200 degrees.
Oh, so right now you do risk the chance of any bacteria coming in.
Only if it got below 180 degrees.
I'm sitting here with my good friend Nolan Mott, and we are going to take you on a brew experience, you guys. We are talking about Crisscross, the Belgian wit stout. We're going to brew in a couple of weeks after the amber is done, and we're going to talk about this recipe.
Yeah.
Let's get going. What are we doing here?
Well, so it started with your idea, right?
Yes.
You kind of wanted a Belgian stout with orange and chocolate.
Yes.
Chocolate orange type flavors.
Yeah.
So we're going to use the Saf Ale BE 256 yeast, which will give it some of that kind of Trappist and Abbey Ale characteristics.
Okay.
We are going to use some chocolate malt to give it some chocolate flavor. And then we're also going to get chocolate flavor from using some cocoa nibs we're going to steep in the fermenter afterwards. So I have some cocoa nibs right here and you can smell them. It's super dark chocolatey flavors.
Oh yeah, that almost has a whiskey-ish flavor to it.
Yeah, it's like pure chocolate flavor. I like using this versus other chocolate forms because I think I get the best chocolate flavor with this.
That's going to bring out some really great, awesome richness to it.
Yeah. And then for the orange, do you want to use dried orange or orange zest, or how would you like to do it?
I would love to take the whole peel and just, grate that right into the beer. I think that will give it the real essence and natural flavors. But is that going to contaminate it, or, are we going to...
It can. It depends on where we want to put it in. If we're going to put it in the fermenter, we'll need to sanitize it somehow. So we'd probably do like a vodka extract or something like that.
Interesting.
Or we could put it in the end of the boil and extract the oils at that point.
That sounds cool. I mean, as long as we don't contaminate it and have to throw a batch out, I'm good.
That's not going to happen.
Good.
All right, so we'll put it in the boil. And then as far as color, we want it to be pretty dark. Do you want it extra dark or kind of medium dark?
I'd like to be able to see through it. Like, this is really dark. So if we could have it somewhere in between there where we could actually see through the beer, that would be amazing. So in 2 weeks, we're going to come back and brew the Belgian Wit Stout Crisscross and sample the Amber Ale. Getting ready to brew again with Nolan Mott, and we're brewing Crisscross, the Belgian Wit Stout, and we have our recipe here, and we've got our chocolate in Nolan's hand. We've got our, what's this one?
This is a Crystal 40.
Crystal 40. We've got our
2-row.
2-row, and then we've got our oats over there, and this is all going to be part of our recipe today, guys. And we're going to take you again behind the scenes. Nolan and I are going to be doing this together. I'm really excited. So I got here at about 8:30 this morning, met Nolan in the back, and we began milling the grain immediately. And so we could start getting things together for you guys. And now we're going to get ready. Very heavy. I can kick it. The boil is on. It's about 10 minutes from now that we start the process. And that means that we take that grain that I just showed you and we get it into the mash tank. Are you guys ready? I am. What am I doing?
Put that on and then open that one. Squeeze it.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Well, we just got done putting in all the oats, the barley, the grain, and now it's boiling.
Now, yeah, so now we're, it's mashing.
Mashing.
You're gonna learn this at some point.
I'm gonna learn it at some point.
So we're gonna let it mash for about 75 minutes, and then we will start transferring it to the boil kettle and sparge to rinse all the sugar off of the grain, and capture that in our boil kettle to make the wort for our beer.
See? That's what we're doing. And what's it doing in there right now?
Right now it's mashing, which is the enzymes in the grain are converting the starches to sugars. Mm-hmm. And the sugar is what we want to make beer because the yeast eat the sugar.
And do what?
Poop out CO2 and alcohol.
Exactly. pulled some liquid out of the mash, and now we are checking the pH.
Now that one of those clamps.
Which way?
That way.
Okay.
And gasket.
Super sticky. That's gonna be spurge water.
Yeah. It's just too hot sometimes. Cold water too.
Oh, it's good.
Smells good.
Yeah, it does.
There you go.
More of that brown look.
Yeah.
It's getting darker though.
Yeah, it's getting some of the junk out of it. It'd be higher than.
When are they gonna pick this up? What are we going to be adding?
We're gonna add dried orange peel. We're gonna add both bitter orange peel
Okay.
and sweet orange peel.
All right.
And they both have a little bit different aroma.
Salty.
Interesting. Oh, I guess probably the ocean. Like it smells like seaweed.
Yeah, salty. That smells really good. This is the orange.
The bitter one.
Bitter. I like that one.
And then that's the sweet.
Oh, I love this one. They're both going to add such a great
Yeah, so
essence.
we're gonna add them towards the end of the boil, and
Okay.
we're pretty much just trying to extract the oils out of the orange skins or orange peels.
I can smell the orange peel already. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Yep.
After we're done boiling the wort, we whirlpool it for about 15 minutes, and then it rests for 15 minutes, and that gets all the hot matter and protein matter to the center of the kettle so that we don't take that into our fermenter. And then we cool it in through a heat exchanger, and that cools the wort from boiling or 190 degrees plus down to about 68 to 70 degrees. And then that goes straight into our fermenter. And then from there we will pitch the yeast, and the yeast will do its thing.
And how long of the process does that take?
That yeast take about a week. There's different stages, or it's about a 2-week process, but the yeast are really active for about a week.